And away we go. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Wherever you happen to be in the world today, welcome one and all to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news, share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you happen to be listening anywhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That's at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat, and you can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, as well as Rumble. And that's Coffee Talk 2, although I can't send the podcast to Rumble anymore because I'm no longer on Restream. I'm on StreamYard, and that was the trade-off. StreamYard has better audio, but StreamYard has better audio, but Restream gave you the option to be able to cast to Rumble, and now I don't have that. 6 of one and half dozen of the other. As we get ready to jump off, hoping everything looks and sounds clear. No felines in the room at the moment, but that's okay. And I'll say hello to some of the people that have chimed in so far on the live portion. I see Jeff is with us, Brian, Helter, Jimmy is here, Dragon is here, JJ is here. As we get ready to jump off. Yeah, I know you all saw that thumbnail. Those images are from his Instagram account. Peter says audio is a little better today. I'm working on it, I'm trying. But that's why I jumped back to StreamYard in the first place. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Again, I'm not like a real studio here. I'm not getting paid. It is what it is. You do the best you can. But I try. As long as I can be heard clearly, that's enough, at least for now. At least for now. Before I get into the thumbnail, I thought this was very interesting, and this is all over the media right now, with the former Meta executive from Facebook. I don't know if anybody has seen this. The former Meta executive outing Facebook whistleblowing. We'll see how long she lives. Because it seems like whistleblowers on big operations don't last very long anymore, do they? Don't last very long. Associated Press article here. Former Facebook executive tells Senate committee company undermined U.S. national security with China. Oh my, with China. So former Facebook executive Sarah Wynne Williams testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee Wednesday, accusing the social media company of undermining national security and briefing China on U.S. artificial intelligence efforts in order to grow its business there. Quote, "We are engaged in a high-stakes AI arms race against China, and during my time at Meta, company executives lied about what they were doing with the Chinese Communist Party to employees, shareholders, Congress, and the American public," according to Wynn's testimony. Her book, Careless People, an explosive insider account of her time at the social media giant, which has sold 60,000 copies in its first week and reached the top 10 on Amazon's bestseller list amid efforts by Meta to discredit the work and stop her from talking about her experience and the company. Meta used a campaign of threats and intimidation to silence the former executive, according to Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut. Wynne Williams served as director of global public policy at Facebook, which is now called Meta, from 2011 until 2017, where she was terminated from her position. Quote, again, throughout those 7 years, I saw Meta executives repeatedly undermine U.S. national security and betray American values. They did these things in secret to win favor. Wynne Williams also said Meta deleted the Facebook account of prominent Chinese dissidents living in the U.S., bowing to pressure from China to do so. Meta says that an account belonging to billionaire Gu Wengyue shared personally in what? Hold still. The thing's bouncing. Sorry, it won't hold still. Personally identifiable information such as people's passport numbers, social security numbers, national ID numbers, and home addresses, and was removed because this violated Facebook's rules. She says Meta ignored warnings that building a physical pipeline between the U.S. and China would provide China with backdoor access to U.S. user data. These plans, called Pacific Light Cable, because lawmakers had stepped in. All Facebook and Meta does is undermine somebody, because Facebook and Zuckerberg have confirmed that all during the Biden administration, they were being manipulated by the U.S. government to strong arm people with their so-called fact checking, which was not actually fact checking at all. It was the manipulation of data. And all the time they were doing that, they were playing ball with the Communist Chinese Party at the same time. Incredible. JJ says she's not calling out Boeing, so she'll probably be okay. Yeah, maybe. Peter says there is no AI anyway. Algorithms is not artificial intelligence. Rodney is here. He says, accursed YouTube didn't start the stream, leaving it locked at the thumbnail. Really? I eventually refreshed, and lo and behold, I've missed 5 minutes. That's cute. That's a new one. That's a new one. Boy, YouTube, anything they can do to mess me up. Tuck is here. Peter says he has a source that tells me Israeli intelligence has backdoor to Facebook. Also seems like Facebook is America last. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if all sorts of countries had access because of some kind of dirty deals that were done by Zuckerberg and associates to try to increase their profits. Again, they manipulated the American people using their so-called fact checkers, which again were more like opinion checkers, keeping people from talking about COVID, for example, or keeping people from talking about the Republican Party during the last round of elections. They admitted to it. Yeah, we got pressure from the U.S. government constantly, from the executive branch, calling us, threatening us, pushing us around. However, at the same time, evidently, playing ball with what could be considered enemies of the state, giving information, doing favors for, and allowing access to other countries' governments that could potentially do harm to the United States. For Instagram, though, I'm pretty sure. Rodney says, I don't know what Rodney says because it won't come up. Rodney says photos of Facebook fact checkers look exactly as you'd suspect. Yeah, I bet. I bet it takes a certain kind of blue-haired monster to do that, and I don't mean Grover. I don't mean Grover. Yeah, a lot of DEI hires whose job it is to stab people in the back. Ministry of Truth. Ministry of Truth, just like Orwell's 1984. Brian says, what do you think of Instagram? I don't know. I mean, Instagram, really, it's just a bunch of photographs. I don't know what else goes on Instagram. Every time I've seen it, it's just pictures, right? So I don't know what else they do there. Tuck says, more dirt on China, Joe, it seems. Perhaps. Perhaps. I mean, he could have something to do with it. I did not read her book. I didn't know she had one. I don't know if I want to read it. I don't know if I want to read another political book. If I want to be bothered. If I even care. I don't know if these people even write these books. You can't trust it. You can't trust it. I already know that whenever politicians or athletes or other types of celebrities or people who are big in religious circles like Joel Osteen, they don't actually write these books. They're all ghostwriters. So, I mean, you can't trust that. You don't know who the hell wrote it or where that information came from or if it's true or not. So I don't trust any of that. I don't trust any of that. Okay, she wrote a book. Maybe. Maybe she did. Maybe she did. Maybe she's telling the truth. Could be. Tuck says that Zuckerberg ran interference for Obama from day one. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that he did. Pretty sure that he did. Doesn't surprise me at all, unfortunately. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. But yeah, I don't trust these guys. Peter mentions Wikipedia there. Yeah, Wikipedia, where anybody can go in and change anything. You can't trust that. You can't trust that. You don't know what you're looking at. You don't know what you're looking at, period. You don't know what you're looking at, period. I know, I've mentioned it before. I know somebody who is an actor, and he does like background stuff primarily. He, the other day, was cast for, what was it? Family Feud. He was cast for Family Feud as an audience member. The audience isn't even real. I mean, seriously. Seriously. You can't trust anything you see. You can't trust anything you see. And I've talked about it before with, what was it? With Pawn Stars. Show's completely fake. It's not even a real store. It's on a studio set. All the people that are going in and out of the store, they're all actors. There's nobody in there shopping. It's in a studio. There is a real Pawn Stars pawn shop, but it's a shithole in a really bad part of town in Las Vegas that you just don't want to go to, from what I understand. You don't want to be caught in that neighborhood. So, yeah, you can't trust anything you see on television, especially if it's real. Marvel fan is here. Glad you could make it. Trusting Wikipedia. I mean, sometimes you can look at it and take it for what it is, take it on at face value. But when they're talking about politicians or anything like that, you got to be careful about the manipulation of data. Tuck says, so is the show about tow truck drivers. They're all fake. I don't believe any of them. I don't believe or trust any of them. And the court drama ones as well. And you can catch it if you can read through. I know they play them pretty quick, but if you read through the credits at the end, it tells you that it's a portrayal based on an actual court hearing. So they took court records from somewhere and basically reenacted it. They're not even the real people. There hasn't been a real like judge show on TV since Judge Wapner. And Monkey has joined us as well. And Peter suggests walking through Hollywood and you realize it's all an illusion. Yeah, it's all fake. And ridiculously so. Ridiculously so, just how deep it runs, how phony it is. I don't even think, I'm pretty sure the contestants on these shows aren't even real anymore. If you watch vintage, like my wife and I do sometimes, watch vintage game shows, you get a sense of genuine reaction from audience participation. But watch them now, everybody looks really phony and animated, like they were coached. It doesn't, it just doesn't fly. It's all, especially if they tell you reality show, forget it. Forget it. Now we may as well jump into the thumbnail. Okay, I got a few things to say about that. I keep wanting to put this story to bed, but something else comes up. And this is a Trending America article, because you've probably heard rumors that Anthony's GoFundMe was canceled. Apparently that is true. Okay. And it says why GoFundMe took down Karmelo Anthony's fundraiser and what happened next. Okay. So the GoFundMe evidently has taken it down. So let me see if I can get here. GoFundMe took down the fundraiser of murder. He's accused of stabbing a fellow student at a high school track meet. They were not fellow students because they're from two different schools. Family launched a fundraiser. It didn't last long. GoFundMe pulled the plug and the internet went wild. Okay. And it goes on to tell you about what happened, the story. So I'll go ahead and I'll skip ahead on this. It says Anthony's family set up the GoFundMe page to cover legal defense. Not everyone thought it was okay. GoFundMe didn't think so either. The platform deleted the campaign, citing the policy that banned fundraisers for illegal defense of alleged violent crimes. Quote, GoFundMe's terms of service prohibit raising money for the legal defense of an alleged violent crime. And just like that, it was gone. Yeah. So the GoFundMe account, because there were two accounts, the GoFundMe and the GiveSendGo account. And between the two of them, they were up to like $500,000. GoFundMe exercised their privilege because of the controversy around everything that's going on and the fact that he's basically admitted guilt. GoFundMe elected to remove the account. They pulled back whatever was withdrawn, they clawed it back, and they returned everybody's money. So whatever they had coming from GoFundMe, it's gone. They've lost that. And I think it was up around, 100? We read it yesterday, right? 158,000 or something on GoFundMe? Something like that, something crazy. But so that rumor is true. GoFundMe apparently has canceled the Karmelo Anthony Defense Fund. Peter says guilty till proven innocent. We all are. Everybody's guilty until proven innocent. I know they tell you innocent until proven guilty, but if you're sitting in jail, sitting in court, being arrested, they think you're guilty of something. Tuck says, I think it was a year after I graduated. 3 girls I'd gone to school with were on Ricky Lake or Jenny Jones. Don't recall. Utterly fake. Yeah. And also those singing shows too. American Idol. My wife happened to stumble over American Idol and recognized someone that's on there right now because he had previously been on The Voice some years ago. And he is a professional. He's just not a big enough professional you'd recognize him. But yeah, those rumors are true because this was asked about yesterday and I wanted to run it over. GoFundMe has apparently actually canceled this account. So that money is gone. That money is gone. However, Give, Send, Go is still up and running. Give, Send, Go is a bit more liberal. And I will go ahead and open this up. This is the actual Give, Send, Go account. Wait for that to pop up here. And you can see where it is at. Okay. The goal is 350,000. Originally, I think it started at 80. And every time they went over their mark, they increased it. They increased it to 100, 150, 200, and so on. And now, currently, it is at $317,305 for the Help Karmelo official fund. And it reads, shows this picture here. He's younger here than some of the other photos, but you know they all do that. It says, this is the official support fund for Karmelo and his family during this challenging and difficult time. The narrative being spread is false, unjust, and harmful. As a family of faith, we are deeply grateful for all your support during this trying period. Your prayers and assistance mean more to us now, more than ever. That's bad syntax. They said the word more twice in the same sentence. The Anthony family, and that's really all it says. There's nothing else here. There's not even anything in the updates. There's not even nothing in the updates, and one, really 2 sentences paragraph. It's a lot of money. Peter says there's a video of I think a DOJ official about 2 years ago actually saying guilty until proven innocent. Innocent until proven guilty is a narrative, and it's not the truth. It's not the truth. Like I said, if they didn't think you were guilty, you wouldn't get arrested. You wouldn't be sitting in court. You wouldn't be sitting in jail. You wouldn't need an attorney, so on and so forth. The burden of proof is absolutely on you to prove that you're innocent or not. That's why you're going to court. There is no such thing in reality as innocent until proven guilty. That's just a narrative that they like to spin in the Western world. Brian says, how much longer will America be slaves of the Kardashians and their awful show? Are they still on the air? That's what Tuck says. I have no idea because I've never watched the show. The clients at the facility I used to run for juvenile justice used to like to watch that show. And I never understood it because it just looked stupid to me. But I never actually sat there and watched it. Never seemed interesting to me. And this person, listen to this comment. Listen how twisted this is. Brett Roberts, the very last person to make a donation. It says just now. Okay, this person just made a $20 donation to this fund. And they left a comment. Listen to this comment. How backwards is this? First-degree murder is overcharging by the prosecutor, not if the prosecutor believes it was premeditated, because he did egg the kid on. This is clearly 2 teens with poor conflict resolution skills. That falls on the parents and teachers and coaches of both teens. If anyone should be charged, it's the adults who failed both of these young men. Okay. I can get behind the idea that bad parenting may be partially to blame for this. All right. I do not know clearly if that counts for the victim here. The victim didn't escalate to lethal force. But you're sitting here saying it's the fault of the parents. And he says here in the last sentence, if anyone should be charged, it's the adults who failed these young men. Yet you made a $20 donation that's going to the parents of this kid. Did I miss something? Kimberly's here. Glad you could make it. Gamer Hippie says, as a family of faith, they should have taught their child that taking a life is not okay unless someone was in the process of trying to take yours. What exactly do they have faith in? Well, it's just something that you say, Gamer. I've talked about that a lot, especially in this narrative. They always say the same things. Oh, we're a good Christian family. He got good grades. He was a good kid. He had a job. Everybody, no matter who it is that did something stupid, the parents always say the same thing. But in my personal and professional experience, again, I used to work for the Juvenile Justice Authority. I used to be the director of a daycare. I've had a lot of dealings with young people and with parents, is that most parents don't even know their children and don't want to. They don't really care. And if anything goes wrong, I've heard this a million times. I've heard it from parents at JJA. Oh, she's a good kid, and she did good in school. And it's like, yeah, that's cute. Your child was arrested for prostitution, has to go to drug rehab, and according to the records, you and her were selling yourselves together. But she goes to church and she's a good kid and she does well in school. They all say it. They all say it, and the majority of them are lying. Let me see here. Peter says bad parenting absolutely played a part, but personal responsibility counts more. Correct. Again, you don't have to be a product of your environment. You may have grown up in a really crappy situation, but you do not have to continue that generational curse. At some point, you have to take responsibility for your own actions. You can only blame whatever you went through in the past for so long, and then it doesn't matter anymore. You have to, at some point, take stock of yourself and say, okay, this is what I came out of, and this is something I've said about myself because I have a really bad past. It's part of who I am, but it does not have to define me. I can be better than that. Fluke Man is here. He says 317K, I'm in the wrong line of business. Exactly. Gamer says accountability lacking on multiple levels. Just catch up a couple of things here. Excuse me. Tuck says bad parenting increases the odds of a negative outcome, but by high school, you have a pretty good idea of do and don't do regarding violence. Yeah, and this is hardly see, it went up again. It's now 317, 410. It went up $95 since we were just in here. Is that right? Or was it, no, was it 305, right? So it went up $105 just since we've been talking, as people continue to make donations. Praying for this young man. Okay. Everybody wants to say they're praying. Everybody wants to say they're praying. But yeah, I mean, there is a certain level of accountability. You have to take responsibility. And again, one of the arguments is that he was being bullied. And this is all over social media. Oh, he was bullying that boy. And that's why he went out there and he stabbed him. Even though it's been established now through interviews by the press, by the police at both schools, they really didn't even know each other. They really didn't even know each other. Plus, there's multiple police accounts from interviews from witnesses that saw this event. And those are public record. You can find them with the names of the witnesses redacted, but all the rest of the information's there. Multiple first responders. That if he was afraid, why'd he go there? Why did he go there? Obviously, the give, send, go. I'll just pull up something here from the Daily Dot really quickly. Pull up something from, if it's acting a little slow here. Hold on a second. Daily dot. It says give and go refuses to engage for accused of murder. And it says enrages the right. I don't know about that. But basically, there have been some groups out there that have been requesting that gives and use citing GoFundMe as an example as to why. Because again, he has already admitted guilt. And so GoFundMe exercised their privilege and said, yeah, we can't allow you to collect money for this. Kid says he's guilty. But Give, Send, Go is a bit more liberal than that. They just want to make money. They don't care. Because, they take a percentage of this. You don't get everything from a GoFundMe, Give, Send, Go. From a crowdfund, they take a percent. Give, Send, Go wants their check. So they're going to let it sit. Blue Man says, if parents are to blame, at what age do you stop saying they're just kids? Parents are at fault. When the child is old enough to clearly differentiate the difference between right and wrong. There we go. It was acting really funny there. Damn connectivity issues. I wonder if it's StreamYard or if it's YouTube doing it. There is a certain amount of blame that can be placed on the parents, particularly if they are irresponsible parents. If you can discover that they are irresponsible parents, neglectful parents, abusive parents. But there is the anomaly by which you have decent parents, and then that child still turns out to be a bad egg. And the Bible talks about that. That's when they tell you to take your child to the city gates. And when you're taking your bad seed to the city gates, that what you're doing is you're going to the town elders, and they're going to look at the family and they're going to make a determination. That's what the Bible talks about. Okay, making sure it's not the parents' fault. Some kids are just bad. It's true. I don't know anything about Anthony's parents, so I can't sit there and say for sure they weren't good parents. I don't know that 100%. Maybe he was just a bad kid. Maybe they're just a bad kid. Or maybe he's just a bad kid. It could be. It could be. Although there is some negative influence. There is some negative influence, and that pertains to the thumbnail, because Instagram photos have been found, even though the Instagram, to my understanding, has been taken down. You can still find traces of it on the internet. And this is from the Hindustan Times. Look how far I have to go to get this. Austin Metcalf case, suspect Karmelo Anthony, Instagram post with guns. So Karmelo Anthony, 17, fatally stabbed Austin Metcalf at the high school track meet at the David Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas, Wednesday. Teenager was left to die in his twin brother's arms as police officers arrested the suspect. Now Anthony's Instagram posts have surfaced with one photo showing him holding a gun. And that is the photo that I used in the thumbnail, or some of the photos that I used in the thumbnail here. And I'm going to set up a, I don't know how well you can see that. You see that clearly? And there he is, holding up a semi-automatic rifle in one hand, AK-47 style, and flashing a gang sign in his left hand. And then in the other photo, he's got a lighter and he's sticking up his middle finger. And I know that the other kid, Austin Metcalf, there is a photo of Metcalf and his brother dressed in hunting gear and holding rifles. They were hunting. As far as I understand it, they were hunting, and that's where the photo comes from. Anthony here is just being a stupid kid. Gamer Hippie says, true, even good parents that teach what should be can be snubbed by kids who want opposite behaviors to look cool or fit in. Peter wants to know, are psychopaths born or created? Both. Some people, they just have some kind of a defect in their brain chemistry. Some people just develop into it. They become desensitized, or they never learn to have empathy for other people or other living creatures. And without that empathy, you can be psychotic. Yeah, Tuck says he's holding a firearm and a gang sign. Correct. Kimberly thought AK-47. Yeah, it's. I'm not sure because I can't see it clearly enough. The image is too small on my end. It looks like an AK-47 style rifle. I've also heard that, I mean, because the internet says 4.0 GPA, Dad says 3.7. I've heard on the internet his grades were actually barely enough to qualify to stay in the athletics program. Basically a C average. I don't know if any of it's true. I don't know any confirmation officially on GPAs, and you're not likely to see it because the school's not going to reveal that. The school's not going to reveal that. But, and again, even that doesn't necessarily mean anything because that looks like something a stupid kid would just do. If I was like 13 years old and somebody said, hey, take that rifle, I'm going to take your picture, I might have done it. And then there'd be a photo of me as a kid holding a gun floating around. And if I ever got in trouble, that would surface, right? That's just the kind of stupid things that kids do. But right now, this doesn't look good. Doesn't look good at all. Luke says preteens know the difference between right and wrong. Anthony is 17. Stop using bad parents as excuses. And Tuck says, I know someone who's pretty well studied on gang culture. I'll ask if they know anything about Karmelo's affiliations or if he's falsely claiming such. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about gang affiliation being floated. I haven't heard anything about that. And as far as GPAs, anyways, back to that, I could care less if it was 4.0 because, again, it's public school. It's public school, so the grades don't mean anything anyways. We got kids graduating with 3.5, 4.0 GPAs, can't read and can't do basic math. So it doesn't matter. But yeah, these are some of his Instagram photos that have surfaced. And now that Instagram is gone, are there other photos that are just as damning? Possibly. Possibly. But what difference does it make? Again, there are witnesses. He clearly instigated the situation and then went directly to lethal force. Whether people want to justify that or not, that's what happened. And if it was the other way around, they would be screaming about it. The people that are defending this would be screaming about it if it was the other way around. Or if it was two white kids or two black kids, you wouldn't hear a thing. No one would care. No one would care. Kimberly says, what does the grade matter? Teachers will pad the grades if they want the kid in athletic programs bad enough. That is true. And Zane says photos don't make you bad, but they can make you look bad. Correct. And that's enough of that. That's enough of that. It's huge news right now just because of how much it's affected people socially, and it's exposed just how twisted a lot of people's perceptions are. And again, without really fully knowing anything. Well, we're going to get out of Texas. We're going to take a break from Texas and jump across the pond to Germany. Reuters article, Germany's incoming government agrees to get tougher on illegal migration. Oh yeah? Finally, because they've been pretty lax on it since I almost got it mixed up. Under the read of this article reads, Germany's future government of conservatives and center-left social democrats on Wednesday agreed to measures aimed at curbing illegal migration, including rejecting asylum seekers at the border, enabling deportations to Syria, and suspending family reunions. Yeah, they suspended the family reunions because when they show up, they don't leave. The parties want to suspend family reunions for people with a so-called subsidiary protection status for 2 years, and to end all federal admissions programs for refugees and not establish new programs in the future, according to the coalition agreement document. Asylum seekers will be rejected as migrants. They've been subjected to terrorist attacks left, right, and sideways for more than a decade, as has many European nations. Many Western European nations are constantly under attack. Explosions, sabotaged power plants, or power transformer stations, all sorts of problems. And you know who's doing it, and you're letting them in. Now you want to do something about it. Good luck. It's going to be hard. The future government wants to deport people to Syria and Afghanistan, starting with criminals and potentially dangerous persons, and will abolish the turbo naturalization of migrants after 3 years of stay, but will maintain the citizenship reforms introduced by the previous government. Okay, here's the thing. Listen to that from the last paragraph. The future government, that is the incoming government, wants to do what? Deport people where? To Syria and Afghanistan. And who are they going to start with? They're going to start with criminals and potentially dangerous persons. So you've got people that you've allowed across your border, just like in the United States, that are special interest aliens, people that you know are trouble. You let them in anyways. Now you want to find them and throw them out. Incredible. And it's hard because look what we're going through now. And then you have facets of government lawmakers who want to fight it. But again, they were special interest aliens. You knew these people were dangerous when you let them in. Same as with our borders in the United States. Special interest aliens. When we read that article, I believe it was last October, when that was first revealed and acknowledged by Border Patrol, that to date they had allowed some 74,000 special interest aliens into the country. People they knew were tied to terrorism, people they knew were wanted in other countries for murder, rape, all sorts of heinous crimes. And you let them in. And those are just the ones you knew about. Now you got to run all over the country trying to round these people up so you can throw them out. And now Germany wants to do the same thing. You've been letting these people in, and you've been having problems. You've been having problems. It's a hard lesson, unfortunately. JJ says Germany needs to do like Poland when it comes to illegal migration. Yeah, it needs to stop. There's only so much you can deal with. There's only so much that you can deal with. And that's basically all it says. But the new government, and we'll see if they do it, claims that they're going to start walking this back. Well, right now, the U.S. government is setting a pretty good example of actually doing that, despite resistance from the inside. Despite the resistance. But what are you going to do? It's got to be done. And you may as well start with the worst of the worst. And how are they finding them? They already knew where they were. They already knew where these people were. Some of them had been arrested in the United States and then released despite their crimes because they were under a sanctuary city status, which is no longer acceptable. So they knew where these people were. And we've read those stories already. We've read plenty of those stories. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Never ceases to amaze me. Never ceases to amaze me. It's like you're deliberately sabotaging your country. And I think they do it on purpose to try to create some sort of breakdown so they can rebuild on it, which is very arrogant because there's a pretty good chance you're not going to be able to successfully do that. You're going to destroy one thing too many and not be able to catch up. Peter says, go to Singapore illegally and see what happens, even here in New Zealand. A lot of places don't tolerate that at all. There are places in the world where you'll be shot for crossing a border. And I'm just glad to see us winding that back. Not only is it destructive as far as how much tax money gets wasted, drawn away for programs for these people, but also it dilutes your culture. And you more and more lose your identity. Now, this touches a nerve with me. This is an Albany Times Union article. Okay, middle schoolers cast as props and booted from New York Assembly during a field trip. That's them. Middle schoolers, junior high. So a group of St. Lawrence middle schoolers on their first trip to the state capitol as part of a class field trip that had been coordinated with a Republican lawmaker learned a dubious lesson in civic engagement on Thursday, this is last week, when they were ordered out of the assembly chamber during a political debate on child care. Republican members of the legislature who said they were initially unaware that the group of 30 children and 4 school officials had been ordered by a sergeant-at-arms to exit the chamber said they were told by Democrats who control the assembly floor that a Republican assemblyman had unwittingly used the children as props when he gestured towards the group and referenced children during an otherwise routine debate. The school group, shepherded by Republican Assemblyman Ken Blankenbush, was visiting from Governor's Central School District in St. Lawrence County as part of a field trip that had been planned for several months. Lawmakers frequently invite groups to tour the state capitol and adjoining buildings in Albany State Government Complex, and visitors are often invited to sit in on official proceedings in the assembly as guests. But for whatever reason, this time, they were like, "Nah, get those kids out of here. Get those kids out of here." And this touches a nerve with me because I hate it when they use kids this way. First of all, no elementary, junior high, or even high school aged kids give a shit about taking a field trip to the Capitol building. They don't care. That is not something they want to do. That does not sound like fun. It doesn't sound interesting. I wouldn't want to go there as an adult. There's nothing interesting about that. Oh, we're going to go on a field trip, you bunch of sixth graders, you bunch of 12-year-olds. We're going to go on a field trip and you'll get to sit in on a session in it's like, how boring can it get? That is not interesting to adults, let alone children. Okay? That's just not interesting. But they set it up, and it said it right there. Oh, they invite these kids all the time. And your tax dollars are paying for these visits, by the way. Why? So that they can take pictures of these kids. They did it to my kid. I was pissed. I've talked about that before. The governor in Kansas, and they had the group from the school come and stand around his desk on a field trip. And then he can use that photograph for a photo op. Oh, look, I'm helping the kids. Bite me. I hate this. And so I'm actually kind of relieved in a way that somebody was like, and by some coincidence, oh, this was set up months ago, but they happened to be doing the field trip and sitting in session talking about childcare. Just by coincidence. Sure. And that somebody had the wherewithal to say, you know what, not today. Put those kids back outside. I hate seeing kids getting used like that. It just frustrates the hell out of me. Kimberly says we did that with my oldest daughter's 8th grade class. No pictures were taken. At least there's that. Monkey says, I get it's great to see the action and progress, but the problem is sessions can be lengthy, and I mean lengthy, and no kid really wants to be there other than they'll be out of school. Yeah. Most kids just want an excuse to be out of school. I mean, I can understand if you're a high schooler and you're taking student government just to see what it looks like. Not these kids. They're too young. They don't care about that. Peter says, personally at 12, I would want to go. I want to see the criminals ruling over us. Yeah, but were you thinking of that when you were 12, or are you talking in hindsight now? Because hindsight's 2020. When I was 12, I don't think I would have known what the hell was going on. So there you go. There you go. But yeah, they're all used as props every time. I don't like that. I don't like when I see kids with politicians at all. I don't like children being put in the position of being anything other than children. No, my kid, Fluke Man wants to know if my kid did anything wonky while he was, while they took the picture. No, because they don't know what was going on. Plus, they wouldn't have allowed that. And this, I don't even know how this is news. It's an Associated Press article. Most of the families applying for Alabama's new school vouchers have kids in non-public schools. No shit. Says more than half of the families who applied for Alabama's new school voucher program have children attending a private school or are homeschooling, numbers that buoy school choice advocates who say the flood of applicants proves the approach is what parents want. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey's office released application figures Tuesday for the CHOOSE Act, The new program, which will help eligible families tap state dollars to help pay for private school or homeschooling costs. Families submitted 22,167 applications for a total of 36,873 students. Ivy said the robust number of applications are a sign that clearly tax-paying Alabama families want school choice. Because we're seeing this more and more in states across the board where they're giving choice to the people in these school districts to be able to take a voucher to spend on either private or homeschooling as an alternative to public school, basically giving back some of, not all, but some of the tax money that was taken from them for the public school service in the first place. And I guess what this article is about is her saying, see, this is what the people wanted anyways. Look how many applicants we got already in like the first week. And that half of them were people that were already doing it, but those half that are already homeschooling or have their kids in private school are still being taxed to pay for someone else's kid to go to public school, which I don't agree with. I don't agree with that. We're taxed for public school. It's the biggest tax we pay on our property. It's like 85+% of our yearly property taxes is public school. We don't have a kid in public school. What the hell are we paying for that for? For this failure system that's cranking out morons. And you're going to force us to pay for it. So I'm all for that in every state. And I think a majority of parents, given the option, would rather find an alternative. But, you know, the law says you have to be schooled. And then they set up a system for you to try to force you to be indoctrinated, as it were. And the big complaint, and you see it here, is people who are opposed, like Senator Roger Smitherman from Birmingham, says, as this grows, it's going to take money from public education. That's the main argument. Oh, you're stealing from kids in public school. That money is for if that student was in public school, but he doesn't want to go. Since he's not in there, you don't need it. If Timmy isn't in your classroom, you don't need Timmy's money. So you're not taking money from the public schools. But this is what they say. And a lot of people claim that. That's a false claim. That's a false claim. But that is the main argument that comes from people who are opposed to school choice. Why are you opposed to people deciding where their children go to school? Unless you want to either take their money or teach them something that you think normal people would be opposed to. Peter says they don't have property tax in New Zealand. We didn't used to. And they put it on us. It was supposed to be like a temporary measure. And they never shut it off. And enough people didn't fight it Tuck says, one of the good things I can look forward to when I move is never paying taxes towards this country's schools ever again. I shouldn't be paying into it anyway, as I don't have children. Yeah. And I can understand that. I agree. I agree. If you don't have a dog in the race, you shouldn't be paying for it. Shouldn't be paying for it. Kimberly says parents are better equipped to decide where they want their children to receive an education. Government overreach needs to be stopped. And we'll go ahead and we'll jump to the debt clock. Debt clock. Let's go ahead and get that pulled up here. See where we are at. Tariff is still at $659 billion. Tariff projected revenue, $659 billion. This ticker is moving very slowly. And it's moving very slowly because, again, it's really not gone into effect yet. Doge is at $302 billion and counting. And I had guessed it would hit 300 yesterday evening. Looks like it did. So 302 billion and counting. Cranking along. JJ wants to talk about the history of property taxes. That might be possible. I might do an impromptu live later just to test a couple of things. We won't talk about the news, though. I'll talk about something else. But with that, we are at the top of the hour, so I will go ahead and start signing off. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come here, darling. On YouTube, on Coffee Talk at Prep University. You can find me on X. It's Granny Smith, everybody, at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. Hi. You can find me on Rumble, and that's Coffee Talk 2. So, of course, I will say thank you. Say thank you to everybody. And say thank you. You don't care, do you? Thank you to everybody for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. That's her making little squeaky beepy noises because she doesn't meow. And we will see you again tomorrow.